Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about bones of skull. So starting our topic with introduction, bones of skull can be divided into two categories. The first category is facial bone and the second category is the cranial bone. First we will talk about the cranial bones, and the cranial bones are total 8 in number. The first cranial bone is frontal bone. Talking about the location of frontal bone, it forms the forehead. There you can see this bone is frontal bone. It forms the forehead, the roof of the eye of sockets, and the anterior floor of cranial cavity. Talking about its feature, frontal bone contains frontal sinuses that are part of paranasal sinuses that help in voice resonance and reducing the skull weight. Talking about its function, it protects the frontal part of brain and contributes to facial aesthetics. Now we will talk about the next facial bone, that is parietal bone, and cranial bone, and that is paired bone. That means there are two in number. Talking about its location, it is located on the superior side of the skull. Here you can see this is the parietal bone in the blue color in the diagram. It forms the roof and sides of cranium. Talking about its features, it is connected to other cranial bone through major sutures that are sagittal suture that is between the two parietal bone and the coronal suture that is between the parietal bone and frontal bone. Talking about the function of parietal bone, it protects the brain and provides attachment to the muscles of scalp. Then we have other cranial bone, that is temporal bone, and there are also two in number. That means they are paired. Talking about its location, they are situated on the lateral side of the skull near the ears. In diagram, they are shown in the orange color. And talking about its features, it has mastoid process, that is rounded projection behind the ear, and it serves as a muscle attachment point. Then it also has styloid process, that is slender pointed projection for ligament and muscle attachment. Then it also has external auditory meatus, that is opening that leads to the ear canal. Talking about the function of temporal bone, it houses the structure of middle and inner ear and thus facilitate in hearing and balance. Then we have other cranial bone, that is occipital bone. It is located at the back and base of skull. Talking about its feature, it has foramen magnum, that is large opening for the passage of spinal cord. And it also has occipital condyle that articulates with the first cervical vertebra for nodding movements. Talking about its function, it protects the occipital lobe of brain and supports the head articulation with the neck. Then we have other cranial bone, that is sphenoid bone. In diagram, it is shown in pink color. It is located at the central skull bone, shaped like a butterfly, and articulates with nearly every other cranial bone. Talking about its features, it has cilia turcica, that is basically depression housing the pituitary gland, and it also has a sphenoidal sinuses that aid in lightening the skull. Let's talk about the functions of sphenoid bone. They basically provide structural stability to the skull and support cranial nerves. Then we will talk about ethmoid bone, that is shown there in red color. You can see, or orange red color. So ethmoid bone is located between the nasal cavity and orbit. Its features include crista glide, that is basically attachment soil for meninges that are brain covering. It also has cribriform plate, that is perforated structure that allow olfactory nerve passage. Then it also has ethmoidal sinuses, that are tiny air cells that lighten the bone. Talking about its function, they contribute to nasal cavity structure and aids in the sense of smell. Now we will talk about 14 facial bones. Sorry, they are not 8. There are 14 facial bones, and there are 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones. The first one include the maxilla. There are 2 in number, and that means they are paired bones. Talking about location, they are represented in light green color in diagram, and they form the upper jaw and forms part of orbits, nasal cavity, and hard palate. Features include infraorbital foramen, that is opening for orbital vessels and nerves, and that also has alveolar processes that contain the socket for the upper teeth. Function includes the upper teeth support and play a role in mastication and facial structure. Then we have a zygomatic bone of the facial bone skeleton, that is 2 in number, and that is mean they are paired bone. In diagram, it is shown in white color. Here you can see this is zygomatic bone, white color bone. It is located at the cheekbone that form the prominence of the cheeks and part of the orbit. Its features include the temporal bone articulation with zygomatic arch, and the function include as it contribute to facial aesthetic and provide attachment for facial muscles. Then we will talk about the nasal bone that are also the pair bone, that means they are two in number. Talking about its location, they are small rectangular bones forming the bridge of the nose, and they are shown they are green in color. They are the nasal bones. Talking about its function, they support the cartilage that shapes the lower nose. Then we have palatine bones that are also two in number, that means they are paired bones. They are L-shaped bones forming the posterior part of hard palate and nasal cavity. Its function is assisting in deforming the floor of nasal cavity and the roof of the mouth. Then we have inferior nasal conchae that are two in number, and that means they are paired bones. They are curved scroll-like bones on the lateral wall of nasal cavity. They help warming, moistening, and filter the air entering the nasal cavity as they increase the surface area. Then we have vomer, that is a single bone of the facial skeleton, and it is located as a single triangular bone in the nasal cavity. Its function is to form inferior portion of the nasal septum, thus separating the nostrils. Then we have mandible, that is also the single or unpaired bone of facial skeleton. It is shown in light blue color in diagram. This is the mandible. It forms the lower jaw and is the only movable bone of the skull. Features include condylar process that articulates with the temporal bone to form the temporomandibular joint. Then it has mental foramen that is passage for nerves and vessels. Its function include it facilitates chewing, speech, and support of the lower teeth. So this was all about the bones of skull. If you like our video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.